And yes, another day to celebrate being alive. It's about 12 minutes past 8. My name is Noah Opera. This is Smart 24 TV, driving business. And today, I know a number of you must be wondering, okay, what is this gentleman doing here? We know that the economic agenda happens on Tuesday. It's a different day. It's a different agenda today that we want to bring to you. We have a team, a member from Uganda Bureau of Statistics, and we are going to be discussing the upcoming census, Uganda National Population and Housing Census, which is going to be happening from the 10th of May 2024. And today is the 3rd of May 2024. The year is running very fast. I mean, before we know it, it's already mid-year, and we're having a lot of things to achieve. We're having a lot of activities that we have to get to do. As usual, your usual suspects, I'm here. It's Noah Opera as your host for the economic agenda. I want to take this opportunity to introduce or have my guest introduce herself to you as we get into this very important conversation. I'll tell you one thing. We get to talk about issues, but this is very current, and you do not need to miss a single word from this conversation because it concerns you, it concerns me, and it concerns every Ugandan out there. My dear Madam Helen, please take a moment and introduce yourself to our viewers of Smart 24 TV.
Thank you, moderator, colleagues, our viewers, and some listeners. Good evening to you all. My name is Helen Namirembe Mviri. I work with the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. I'm the Director for Population and Social Statistics. I'm here today to talk about the census.
Thank you very much. And as you see, a bit of rebranded today. Now, one of the things I was telling Madam Helen today is I want to appreciate Uganda Bureau of Statistics for the job well done so far. I don't want to leave it behind the cameras, but I want to bring it on camera. You have done a good job when it comes to publicity. One of the ways that I've been looking at, there's a very common meme that has been running. Someone said, if you're 25 and you're going to be in your father's house when you're being counted, you're going to be counted as a domestic animal. But those are Ugandans. But also, it shows us that your message about this program has been out there. Now, for the start, we need to understand what is the National Population and Housing Census all about.
Thank you very much. The census, this is going to be the 6th census we are conducting after our independence in 1962. The previous one was conducted 10 years ago. This is 2014. This is the first ever digital census we are going to conduct. I know among the youth there's so much interested in this. All our enumerators that are currently being trained are going to use tablets to collect the data. The data will straight away come to the UBOS servers. We have established infrastructure in place. We have so much we have prepared. And there is a wealth of information. The questionnaire is big, it is rich. Unlike what has been published in the papers today, that's over 180 questions.
Yes.
No, they are like, the individual questions are 82. But you will not find a situation where one person is being subjected to all. We have the eligibility criteria, and not all sections apply to an individual. So you find that you have some of them are less, and some of them you skip them. They may not be relevant given the response you've given.
You know, if I remember clearly, the census happened after 10 years.
Yes.
So the last census, by the time the last census happened, I'm sure there are some young men who were 5 years, now they're adults. They were 10 years, now they're adults. I don't think they got to understand the sensitization that happened by then. I am seeing, besides national population, there is an element of housing census to complete the whole exercise. Why housing as part of the population?
To answer that question, when we launched the census, that is by His Excellency on the 12th of December in 2023, there were 5 core questions we are answering. How many are we? Where are we? How do we live? What do we own? And what services do we access? Yes. So that was the heart His Excellency gave to the nation when he launched the census. So whatever we do is rotated around those 5. So when you ask how do we live?
The condition of people.
Yes, the conditions in which we live. Because for you to enumerate the persons, they're living in institutions, they're living in households.
Yes.
And elsewhere, like maybe on the streets and so on and so forth. So most of the Uganda, 97%, I would say over 95%, live in households. So it is important, what are these conditions? There are also key parameters, key indicators we derive to measure our indicators in terms of economic development. These are included in the monitoring for the National Development Plan. We talk about indicators of welfare, well-being, and these are highly critical. When you talk about the nature or the status of the building materials for the dwelling or the housing unit where one lives, what are they? They send a very key message. Yes. So do you access the services? Do you have the social services? Do you have the infrastructure? What kind of energy do you use for lighting, for cooking? The households in which you live, what are some of those few assets you own? We use all these conditions in addition to other questions to kind of get an indication. This is done in the office after collecting all the data. And it gives us a picture of the level of well-being. We call it a rank. Yes, you rank the households.
You have talked about social services. Do you mind breaking them down? Some of the things, when we are talking about them as technical people, you already know them offhand. There's someone out there that would like to make sense of that statement. Which are some of these social services that we are trying to determine?
Thank you. So we will have a community questionnaire in addition to the household questionnaire. In this community questionnaire, it is being administered to all local council, local council leadership. We'll have about more than 8 of them to sit in an interview and give us the conditions of their communities, because they know them, they are on the ground. So what happens, we first get the key issues, especially concerning education and health in their villages, whether they have any school, what schools they have, what health facilities they have, and what is the level. Is it at health center 1, 2, 3, and that and so on and so forth. Then when it comes to other services, whether the service providers are there, you talk about agriculture extension, you talk about accessing police station services, because I believe even after collecting this data, you look at the concentration of the households and the population vis-a-vis the nearest police unit, using the aerial maps. So when you have the digital maps and you have digitized all households, you are able to see where the concentration is and what are the distances. You can analyze the data geographically, digitally, and you are able to indicate that this area is underserved. We need to have maybe a police post there. So these are some of the questions we do collect. We may not ask the residents directly, but we ask the leadership because it's pertaining to the area, to the local area.
I was just about to ask you about the digital technology, but I think you have broken that down. This also brings us to the fact that we also had a bit of digital campaigns in the previous elections. Now we are looking at digital technology coming in for the national census, which I think shows us how Uganda is on value transformation into digitization and a number of things. One of the other things that we look at as a nation, you indicate that census determines funding for vital services, including healthcare, like you've been explaining, infrastructure, social programs in the and in our neighborhood.
Yes.
Would you mind highlighting, giving more light on this issue, how this is going to determine some of the funding for some of these items?
As I clearly indicated that when you do a digital analysis of the results, because we already have the concentration of the population, we know where that is when the results come in. Then you don't only look at one indicator in isolation. Look at the current education white paper. We are supposed to have a primary school at every parish.
Yes.
We are supposed to have a secondary school at every sub-county. But is this true? So which sub-counties don't have a secondary school? And you also triangulate this information with the other existing community characteristics. Do you have a motorable road in this village? Do you have what is the nature of that Maram road? Whether it is seasonal, whether it is what? So those characteristics you bring in other areas, like whether there is electricity in this area, whether the access, when you talk about the service providers for the telecom companies, so they are going to benefit. Yes, they are going to benefit from this. I remember as we were planning, we used to have some districts which we knew had low coverage, but this is coming in from on the ground, and also the telecom companies are able to, when they are reaching out, to get clear data. So you don't look at one indicator in isolation. You look at those. Why is the concentration of people not going to school? How is it distributed nationwide? Because when we say leaving no one behind, you want to target those who are not going to school. What are those confounders? What is the real nitty-gritty? What is happening to them? Can we study the dynamics of these populations? Then we also look at the services that are lacking. And then when you look at these standards which have been set by the Ministry of Education, by the Ministry of Works, and also other ministries, departments, and agencies, then you are able to inform government. And more still, will get more detailed analysis in terms of we are linking this data to the household survey, which we usually do every 3 years. We get the poverty indicators. When we do project our population, because we get censuses every 10 years, it's not on an annual basis. So we inform the ministry. This population is one of the very variable core in terms of determining the resource base, So we have those planning figures we give to the Ministry of Finance. They will be able to also to get to know in this district or in this sub-county, how many schools do they have. So you have digitized everything, and it will show you, and you have these digital maps. The districts also, we are now looking at planning starting at the beginning, at the parish level. We are able to collect a lot of information. Even when you get information at household level, you can aggregate it and look at the households in the parish. How many families have children who are not going to school? How many families have children with disabilities? How many families? You're looking at service delivery, and where there is an unmet need, and you are able to provide these services.
Key things. We are looking at supporting national planning. We are looking at making sure that different institutions, private and public, are able to get the rightful data to help them allocate their services in the different areas. And to me, this is why I was telling you that you need to be very attentive with today's program. And thanks to Madam Helen, I just want to emphasize that the national census is going to be happening from the 10th. It takes how many days?
Enumeration is, we have planned for 10 days, from 10th up to 19th.
Up to 19th.
Yes.
So 10 days of the national census, and you need to be part of this program. Why? Because you are doing yourself as a Ugandan a big favor to make sure that your community is identified in terms of the needs that have to be addressed in the community. If you're listening to Madam Helen very, very clearly. One of the other things that I would like to get to understand is how important are Ugandans taking this exercise? I know how sometimes dealing with the community it gets a little bit challenging, but yes, on the other hand, I know that Ugandans are very responsive when it comes to national programs. They respond to elections. They responded, I remember the days of COVID, how they responded and cooperated with the government. How are you finding the response so far when it comes to this program?
Thank you very much. Today we are working with, in terms of the preparations, because now where we have reached is just a few days. We are working with existing structures. We have structures with government, the district local governments. We are working with the COWs, the district census officers. These officers were established. And then we have the communications officer. This team is supposed to coordinate at the lower level because that's where the service delivery is. They are working with us and they're helping us to deliver the message to the local communities. The radio, the TV where possible at that local level. And there are also other key important messages. We have tried our level best in the sense that when His Excellency launched, it was widely publicized. We have worked with different key influential people. We have worked with the religious team leaders. We have worked with, for instance, our executive director and board chair. We have been to the various offices. Yesterday we visited the Archbishop of Kampala. Then some time back, I think it's about 2 weeks ago, the clergy that is from the Anglican or Church of Uganda. And then we have worked with the Interreligious Council. We've had breakfast meetings, and we have worked with the Muslim community. We are everywhere. We segment the audience in the sense that we know that reaching out to them require different mediums of communication. And we have worked with other partners and collaborators to ensure that the census reaches out. But mainly our focus has been the district leadership. Yes.
So mainly you're approaching it at local government levels. Thank you so much, Madam Helen. What I'm going to say, I would want to know, apart from how you have explained the different stakeholders that you're working with, when we come back, I would like to know a little bit about the youth. You know how sometimes they get to be special when it comes to some of these programs. So we shall start from talking about the youth, how you have handled them, how are you making sure that you reach out to them and make sure that misinformation and disinformation about the program is not happening. In the meantime, we shall go into a short commercial break. My name is Noah Pera. This is Smart 24 TV, and this is the economic agenda. We'll return after a short commercial break. Stay tuned.
Smart 24, driving business.
MTN Mobile kutusaka Usi live in concert kujahazi PM nyonyo Mo hip hop kuna rubale Kurokanga 18 Mei 2024 Ena fefe bosi weekend Kama goma rapo na nyini freestyle Jangora bomwana wakulu kutebika munganiga sasa liva mchamba Misana na chidonga tuli marapu melele Kokinge mtuale bidi Yebi mtuale tano Emeza kakande Emeza vivye bia milioni satu Downloading MTN Momo app osalibweko ebitundu 5 ku buli 10 ku tiketi bw'oguliko MTN Momo tiketi egula mutwalo gumu ate VIP ebiri kitundu tulina ne boat cruise bitejwa mu St. MC MTN Momo Givo establishment the angry management.
We've been through a lot. The only reason why we are still standing is because we're the Kirundas. And therefore the need to keep that name and legacy alive.
There's something you're not telling us.
What are you talking about?
So you knew about the people that killed Teresa and you kept it to yourself?
Lucy, the last time we did not do it properly.
Cooking oil like no other makes your meal so sweet and scrumptious. The taste of Uganda, yeah, the taste of Uganda, the taste.
It's not just a match, it's the crescendo of a season-long symphony.
Now approaching the final
critical moments. So for one final time inside the final, the FA Cup final,
European final,
Europa League Champions League final game.
Stay connected to GOTV to witness. Live in all the finals on GOTV. Brace yourself for the kickoff of the UEFA Euros 2024. Only on your World of Champions.
Smart 24, driving business.
And yes, welcome back, and thank you so much for keeping it on Smart 24 TV. We are here for the economic agenda, and today we are discussing the national population and housing census. We have gotten the opportunity of Madam Helen explaining to us why the word housing is there. I know a number of people must be wondering, okay, population and then housing. So he has given you clear explanation. She has given you a clear explanation that actually they're not only looking at counting people, but even the welfare of the people. How are Ugandans living in their communities? How many people and which conditions, which services are available in the communities, plus so much more. Now, before we left, we were talking about how ready Ugandans are, and also their level of responsiveness in terms of this program, which is going to start on the 10th of May, 2024. Madam Helen, I wanted some clarity. You know how the youth can be special in so many ways, especially Uganda, because we are about 70% young people in Uganda, over 70% young people in Uganda. What programs have you put in place in terms of publicity to capture the youth to make sure that they participate in the national population and housing census?
Thank you very much. Yeah, the youth, we have planned for them. There is a lot. This being a digital census, many of the youth have been taken on as enumerators because they are they're spot on. Yeah. The age bracket really favored them, and many have applied. When you, in most training centers, as you move around, you find that there are quite a number of youth. So that is one engagement. So the other one is that we've hired a media firm to work with the youth. We are there on social media to see that, because we know they have, they can influence their peers, and that's where we are.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
So you're using the platforms where they are
Yes.
to make sure, and is the response so far good?
Not yet. I haven't followed up with the response,
Okay.
but understandably, and I know it must be, it must.
Well, I'll tell you as a person who is on social media, the presence is there.
Yes.
That's one thing I can say, and it's one of the things that I was telling you, that actually the visibility, just that I wanted to make sure that they get to hear from the host's mouth about the program. And clearly, if you're a young person out there and you're wondering, okay, government has not really emphasized on this issue, Madam Helen is here to tell you that actually you need to make sure that the message that is running on social media, the messages that your peers are talking about and all that, you need to make sure that you put it in action and be counting. Madam Helen, there's something I need to know, and also the world, Ugandans need to know about. We need to know about how individuals that are going to be counted, especially the youth. For example, you are in Kampala, you have a Muzigo, Kawempe, but you're from Butaleja, or you're from Kaberamaido, you're from Bukedea. Can you be counted from Kawempe? And also, if you're going to be counted from Kawempe, what views are you going to represent? Are you going to represent the views of Bukedea, or you will talk about Kawempe where you are?
Okay, thank you very much. In the question, when you look at the census questionnaire, I know here you're bringing out issues of internal migration, or call it external or international migration. We engage the youth. We ask them questions about, of course, their background characteristics, their levels of education, their work environment, where they are working, whether they are self-employed, whether they are being employed by other persons, and of course we shall enumerate them where we find them. So that means it's a de facto census, in the sense that where we find you is where we count you from. And the characteristics of, though you might pick some characteristics that when we have the migration streams, when you are doing the analysis, will not be able to know in Kampala, where do the youth come from? Where is the biggest stream? Is it in Kaberamaido? Is it those who take the Tirinyi Road? So where is it? You are able to do that kind of analysis, and possibly it can inform policy. So the views you give, because when we ask about your education background, although we don't go into detail which school you really attended, but this kind of, when we talk about work, and when we talk about when we ask for your place of birth, the place of residence, and the previous residence. But also the other issue is that when we are in these households, we are asking the heads or any other eligible member who has enough knowledge about the households, whether there was a member of that home who left the household and went abroad. Yes. In the last 5 years. So, and then we ask, what was the prime? You see, there are many reasons why people migrate. Then we ask for those reasons. We ask for his age. We ask for the period when he left, which year did he leave, month and year, to be able to know the most recent migrants, and also to know the duration they have lived abroad, and which countries where they are living. Yes. So much as we capture about that population, presumably it's mainly the youth that have been going out, but we'll be able to give this country good measures on about the youth out migration. Of course, you study the dynamics. This information is important when it comes to the youth. Of course, in the receiving countries where they go, it is also important for them. but also for us in the even those countries where they lived before departure. So it's like you are studying the dynamics. This is a global world. Yes, and we have regional commitments in terms of like migration. So at the end of the day, we'll be able to give this country and the international fora very good information.
Thank you.
The youth is not only that. You talk about the youth unemployment. Here we are youth in agriculture, youth in which activities.
Yes.
So you can even pick the core activities. Yes, uneducated youth. So giving some key highlights. The beauty here is that you are going to get information at all district levels and even subnational levels, because it's a census, it's a total count. That's the actual finding. Where are they concentrated? Why? Then you study some of the indicators and reasons for why indicators are. What are those reasons behind? You have that analytical lens to be able to inform policy and give the policymakers the information they need.
Yes. The program is very holistic in the way that according to how you're explaining, even a Ugandan that is not in Uganda is going to be counted by default. If I may put it.
Those who left the last 5 years.
5 years ago. How about those who left like 3 years ago? Why wouldn't you consider that?
No, when we say within a period of 5 years.
Within a period
Within a period, it can be less than a year, it can be 3 or 4. But one point I would like to emphasize, this doesn't mean that when we administer this module on migration, we are going to count those people and contribute to the total population. No. We have the census reference night, and this guides us in terms of that the population is the reference date. All results refer to that date. So for us, it's just to understand how many left, those migration indicators in terms of the rates, in terms of their education, in terms of their other reproductive health issues, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, you inform government about this, but we are not giving those details, or those counts are not going to be included for the total population.
I will not ask you about the challenges you're going through. Those might create biases in the people out there. But I know you're facing quite a number of challenges in this program. This is Africa, this is Uganda. We definitely face a number of challenges when it comes. We have faced challenges when it comes to vaccination. We have faced challenges in elections. We have faced challenges in taxation. Now, for the census, the challenges you're facing, what measures are you putting in place to make sure that you have effective results as you're pledging to Ugandans and the government?
little time and basically
You don't
the
have time,
materials
actually.
materials had to be
Yes.
dispatched. But as we are there, we have also had engagements with our service providers,
Yes.
and we have also worked with other ministries, departments and agencies. Issues to do with security, the security
yes.
agencies are helping us.
They're helping.
When we get to other self-enumerating entities, like you have the police, you have the UPDF,
They
we have
protect
the
enumerators.
we have Uganda Wildlife Authority camps. They are not in every area, but you find that they have some gazetted areas where they have their camps, and even you find that there are some UPDFs there. But we've got support in the sense that Ministry of Tourism has come on board, given us information about these areas, the police, the prisons, the UPDF. We've been working as a team. So we train them and they train their staff to collect the data.
In other words, if there's any major solution you have laid, you have put forward in addressing the numerous challenges you're going through, is that you have built a strong network with the different stakeholders. I think I'm looking at that. Of course, in Uganda, I always have confidence in security. That's one thing that the president emphasizes all the time. So, in other words, people who are out there, the Ugandans that are watching right now, it's an assurance that I wanted to ask this question, because this information goes through some of these loopholes when we don't talk about them.
Yes.
When we don't talk about certain challenges, when we don't talk about solutions that are there. But I wanted you to put this information so that confidence is built in Ugandans out there to understand that whatever they're going to be told, there has been something that has been put in place.
Okay.
You get. So thank you about that. As we get to close the show in a few minutes, I think one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is are there issues of confidentiality in this matter, or information that is shared, it's okay for someone to get to understand about whatever someone shared? Because data mainly is protected. So yes. Any assurance when it comes to confidentiality and security or protection of data, that's correct.
The 1998 Statistics Act is very clear because it empowers us to collect data, large-scale national surveys and censuses. And when it comes to confidentiality, even if it's a small survey, yes, we cannot reveal this information to anyone. The information we give is aggregated in terms of results, but you have a record file that Helen has 10 children, these ones are not going to school, we can't do that. Yes, so the confidentiality rules, we oblige, we swear oath of secrecy. Even in terms of our trainers, we have prepared them and they have to swear an oath of secrecy. If they do divulge the information, they are contravening the law.
What happens? Any punishment that comes with that?
Yes, it is, but I don't have that detail as
you don't have the details.
Yes.
So, but anyways, the numerators out there, I think they should know one thing, that confidentiality is very key in this process, and the data that's collected from different people should be protected maximally, because I mean, people don't want to be there sharing the information. People have issues and they don't want to go around making sure that the information is leaked here and there. You talked about the youth. You talked about the population being very ready. Any information that you would like to pass on to the Ugandans out there that is very key that I may not have talked about or may not have asked about?
Thank you very much. The most disturbing question which I've received from a number of, especially the media houses, is the issue of the census reference night. It seems it's a difficult task to understand and appreciate it, but the good thing is for the census enumerators. But out there we are telling the public that census reference night, God will assume God has a torch, a camera, a digital camera.
Yes.
It takes a picture of all Ugandans in this country. That will be the total population. That's why we make that night a reference night. And that's why the following day is a public holiday. Such that when we say the night of 9th, depending on which local language you speak, the night of 9th, so that you're being linked to the they are not visiting a household once. If we come to your household, we don't know when you will come back. You have closed a single person household. The local guide, even the community, the neighbors, they know that that neighbor of ours leaves very early and comes back such a time. So we can, if you can get your number, then we are able to schedule an appointment. So we can make a second visit until maybe when we get to a point that we can meet you. But surely we know that we will be able to get support. And those who are resistant will work with our supervisors to be able to get the information.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Helen. And it's been an honor to have you represent Uganda Bureau of Statistics on this very important conversation. National Population and Housing Census is going to be happening on the 10th of May 2024. And they're calling upon every Ugandan, the youth, make it a point. One of the things that have been highlighted today is that no matter where you are, you can get counted. Whether you are in your village or you have a muzigo somewhere in Kisenyi, you can be counted. Whether you're going to be at work, they're giving you an opportunity to be counted. And why? Because this census is going to help in the national planning to make sure that the services that are still, not worked out yet, to make sure that the government knows how to address some of these issues. And of course, we need to know how many we are. We need to know how many we are in this country. I can't say this is, but the current number has been 45 million, Madam Helen, has it?
Yes, it has gone about that. I think we are, is it, yeah, it might be around that.
Okay.
Off the cuff.
Anyways, you can just give your last remarks, apart from that key message from the census, just a personal message out there to maybe family or people that I assume are watching today as we close. Okay. Anyways, thank you so much for being part of the show. we are going to call it an end. We'll see you on Tuesday from 9 p.m. for the economic agenda. And we are hoping that we're going to have another conversation with another member to emphasize on this issue of the national census. And stay tuned for more programs that are coming. This is Smart 24 TV. My name is Noah Opera. And the time check is it's almost 9, a few seconds to 9 p.m. Have a good night, and we'll see you then.
So your last question was, is it the